Aliens and bodybuilding. How am I going to combine these two things, right? Let me cook, because this is going to be a different kind of video today. I used to absolutely love space as a kid. One of my first initial jobs, I wanted to be an astronaut, right? Hasn't quite come to fruition. There's still time, I could still do it, maybe, I don't know. The universe has been around for approximately 13.8 billion years, right? Our brains cannot even fathom how long that is. Did you know that there are more stars within that observable universe than there is grains of sand on the entire planet? Do you know how crazy that is? We predict the observable universe is around 93 billion light years across. And if you didn't know, a light year is the distance that light travels in a year. Right, ready? Wait for this to turn on. Autism. See how quickly that hit me? Right, imagine how far that goes in a year. 93 billion light years. Big. For example, it takes light around 8 minutes from our sun to hit our planet Earth. And within that deep, vast universe here, we exist on Earth in this little pocket of the Milky Way galaxy with all kinds of life, vibrant. And depending on what conspiracy theories you believe, insofar we haven't seen evidence of life anywhere in the universe. Again, unless you believe stuff that you hear on the Joe Rogan podcast.
13.8 billion years later, that hydrogen became sentient. Where along the way, what's the line of consciousness and not consciousness?
When do we call it consciousness?
Yeah.
I was watching a video today that we played on a podcast earlier of a monkey riding a motorcycle down the street, jumps off the motorcycle and tries to steal a baby.
Yes.
Some of you might believe that we've been visited by aliens. Personally, for me, the jury is still out. We haven't seen much evidence. Right? So that begs the question, with all of these stars, surrounding most of which is planets, billions upon billions of potentially habitable planets for life like us, right? For what we believe life needs to survive. And there's already been over 5,500 exoplanets confirmed. Out of those, dozens of them are Earth-sized and located within the habitable region or distance from the sun. So plenty of places there could be life, but where is everybody? I mean, it doesn't take a lot, right, to just think of it in a numbers sort of question, as I am a numbers guy, right, which is something I say a lot. Failed maths degree, right here. It wasn't failed, I left, right? Did you fail if you quit? Maybe, actually, that's in the definition. But where is everybody is the simple question that physicist Enrico Fermi asked back in 1950 at a simple lunch with his colleagues. He wanted to answer the question, why, in the vastness of the universe, with all our abilities with telescopes and radio to look out and try and detect life forms, where the fuck are the aliens? Right, good question. Have to do with training and bodybuilding, Jake. I'm getting there. Okay, I'm gonna make it in a minute. I just wanted to talk about something more interesting than bench press for once, right? I'm also trying to convince you guys that I'm not just a complete meathead. Yeah, but I bet Enrico Fermi didn't have these doubts, did he, San? Anyway, smart guy. And this basically laid the foundations to what we call today the Fermi paradox, which is the very simple question that, given all this possibility, given this vast amount of time, understanding that there would have been some of these planets out there, because you think, right, well, life has gone on this evolutionary process and it's taken us millions and millions of years, or billions, I don't know, I'm not that smart, to get to this point where we've got all the life that we have, right? But some of these habitual planets, or potentially habitual planets, will have been around for a lot longer. And you would assume if they've been around for longer, life would have developed on there, and it would be more technologically advanced than we are, to the point where we would be able to see them zipping around in spaceships, or at the very least, we'd be able to see some evidence, right? This brings us briefly on, I'm going to touch this, I'm going to get to the main bulk of the video, but this brings us into kind of like this category of civilizations, right? So you've got a stage 1 civilization, which has basically conquered all of the energy possible on the planet. So we make use of the sea, we make use of all the energy within the planet, right? Stage 2, I believe, is where you basically capture all the energy of your sun, right? There's this idea of like this Dyson sphere thing, which would go around the sun. You take all that energy and use it would use this to stream terabytes upon terabytes, well, it'd be way more than that, of all the pornography you want. It's great. At that point, you think OnlyFans subscriptions will be free, right? I'm not condoning that, I'm anti that, I'm just there's a lot you could do with the power of a star. And then the next progression, stage 3, is, let me list off because I don't know, is a stage 3 civilization. I think it's of the solar system, type 3. No, harness of an entire galaxy, right? So you think that over time, as technology just gets better and better and better, we'd see more of these things. But that is based on a lot of assumptions, right? And there's a lot of problems with this paradox, and there's a lot of potential solutions to it. We assume that every life form will be progressive focused, meaning that they want to seek more progress, they want to advance technology, right? Not all civilizations might have that. Primate brains, which what we're constantly chasing is this hierarchy and kind of competing against each other, right? Which has almost led to World War III. Sorry, I mean, how good or useful has that been? We'll find out in maybe 10 years. And in case conscription comes, I identify as a woman who is disabled, but they might not all have the same motivations as us. It might not even be possible. Like some life forms that exist on water-only planets, right, that are maybe a little bit bigger. Maybe it's impossible to technologically advance in the same way that we have underwater. But anyway, there should be aliens. One of the biggest theories is this great filter idea, which basically says that on the development of a civilization or a life form, there are these events that take place which ultimately wipe them out and reset them back to stage one. The dinosaurs, right, meteor, dead. Nuclear war, right, it might be that most civilizations just tend to get to a certain technological level and then just wipe themselves out. You've got things like solar storms, solar stream of energy from the sun, wipes out the atmosphere, fucked. Stars die. A lot of things can happen, right? And there's all these filters, right? And the idea is that maybe there was loads of life forms, right? They haven't got quite to the point where they could be detectable. And then in just a numbers game, probability chance, at some point they hit a filter and just on odds, they don't manage to get out of it, right? Until you become a multi-planetary species, you are technically, all of your eggs are in one basket, right? If something happens to planet Earth, we're fucked. We're dead, done, right? So how am I linking this to bodybuilding, right? It's more training based. It's more about the health of society. I want to point out that in the Western world, a significant amount of the population is overweight, with estimates ranging but often exceeding 50% in many countries. For example, in the UK, 64%. In the US, nearly 75% of adults are overweight or obese. How often do you see an impressive physique, right? If you train in a gym, it might be quite often. But out in the population, many people are suffering with their weight. They're suffering from long-term health conditions. All of the diseases in which you are told as long-term health conditions, right? Diabetes, high blood pressure, oh, this just happens to you as you get old. Maybe for some of us, it's unavoidable. And I suppose as you get into later life, it is. But for middle age, no. Testosterone is rapidly declining in males, right? We are softer, we are weaker than people were thousands of years ago. People are generally unhealthier. I mean, I know lifespan has increased, but we have modern medicine to thank for that. If you didn't have modern medicine, if we didn't have medication to control the symptoms of a deeper problem, which is unhealthy lifestyle, would people be living for as long as they did? I don't know. In a weird way, I almost doubt it. Because yes, although lifespan was much reduced as in thousands of years gone by, a lot of this statistic was brought about from infant mortality and social economic issues, right? People actually starved to death. They couldn't afford food. There was famines. There was all of these things. But if you actually got lucky enough to survive all these things, you would have not only a lifetime equivalent to what we see today, but you'd have a much better quality of life. You'd be a lot healthier all the way through. So in the same way that there's the Fermi paradox, what I want to talk about is the modern unfitness paradox. No, that doesn't have a good ring to it. Modern fat paradox. They call it the health paradox. And in the same way as the solutions to the Fermi paradox, I'm going to come up with some solutions as to why in the modern age, when we have all the resources, we have this wealth of knowledge over years upon years upon years of training, getting fit, building a beautiful physique, being healthy, and longevity, having easier access to food than ever. Everyone has access to a gym. Why are most people out of shape, unhealthy, and overweight? Let's dig into it. Problem number one, information overload. We're in an age of TikTok. We're in an age of ChatGPT. I even have ChatGPT open right in front of me right now. Some of the visuals you are seeing within this video were created by ChatGPT. It has never been easier than ever to access information online and figure out how to get healthy, how to get fit, how to build an incredible physique, and yet there is still so much confusion, so much debate around what does and doesn't work. I remember back being a little kid and I used to look up to some of the people in the fitness space, right? And there were some specific people that I followed, Kino Body or Gregory Gallagher being one of those. We had Ziz, right, who was, for want of a better term, led a lifestyle that was very inspirational. We had these content creators who had these incredible physiques. They would create long form content and you would basically be exposed to a few of them, right? You'd find one that you liked, the personality, you liked the lifestyle that they led, and you'd be inspired by them. And you would absorb their content and you would learn their method, right? And this is one thing I want to say in the beginning. There's more than one way to skin a cat. There are a lot of different methodologies, there are a lot of different philosophies around training, around nutrition. And to be fair, a lot of different ones work, right? A lot of my messaging is, I've had a very big pushback with short form content recently, and this comes about from the fact that really there are fundamental things that work. Eat less, move more. Progressive overload in the gym. When you want to bulk, eat a little bit more. And you basically just tick these very simple boxes, and on a long enough time scale, you'll make progress. There are faster ways to get there, there are slower ways to get there. There are different approaches that might fit your lifestyle better. Problem these days is everyone has one of these, right? And what you can do with this, right, is you can very easily shoot a video like this, and you may not even have that much time in training, right? There are a lot of skinny guys on TikTok. Now, before you call me skinny, be nice, okay? These videos and claim to be a fucking expert. And in fact, the way that the algorithm works is sometimes the more that something pisses somebody off, the better that it performs. It gets more clicks, it gets more engagement, right? The one thing that I just wanted to add here is it's all the same ideas, but people just keep repackaging it in different ways, new, exciting, shiny ways. It's all the same shit, right? There's nothing really that revolutionary coming out, right? It's all the same stuff. People just keep repackaging it to sell it again to you in a different way. Jack's Fitness is the perfect example. He has fucking rocket fired up to levels of fame that back in the day he never would have attained, right? And I don't mean this as a dig to him, right? I wish him all his best in his training journey. If he actually started training, that'd be great. But there are so many so-called experts who have no qualifications today. I did my PT qualification, right? How useful that's been, not all that much, to be honest. At least it gave me a thorough understanding. I coached people on the floor for 2 years, right, in a gym, and then moved online and learned how to refine that process. I've also got in year by year better shape over time. You've got some people that have had a couple of years of training experience and they're giving out training advice, and worse yet, what we have is the social media illusion. Everyone looks better online. Photos are edited. The fake natty wave, right? There are people that take in performance enhancing gear and will claim natural, and it gives them this level of authority just because of the way that they look, that people listen to them. And that's a big problem these days, is this push for young men, this what we call the physique inflation, right? I don't know if you remember back in the day, I think it's like the first Spider-Man film, you know, with Tobey Maguire, he goes through that he gets bit by the spider, he wakes up the next day and he takes his glasses off, realizes he doesn't need his glasses anymore, and he looks in the mirror and he looks at his physique and he's like, damn, like, it's pretty good. What do you think about that physique now? Pretty mid. Some people look like that with no training, right? But back in the day, it was seen as a good physique. Now, we've got this unhealthy obsession with taking everything to the extreme, because that's what we're inundated with on social media. You're not going to see the shit physiques, or you will see the shit physiques, because then when people try and claim that they know how to train, then they'll get pushed to the top because it's people, you know. But you're in with these ridiculous physiques which aren't achievable naturally, plain and simple. And this basically creates a comparison, a jealousy, and which forces people to, not forces because it's your own decision, but it pushes people to do dangerous things, right? Training shouldn't be about like this shortcut seeking. It should probably so like short form content. The actual process itself, the basic, the fundamentals, train with intensity, how to train accurately, learning the basics around diet. People are looking for this quick fix which takes absolutely no effort to change. Like, what's the best bicep movement? Thinking that if they find a slightly more optimal movement, it's going to magically grow their arms. No, it's not. This is why I ultimately have a job, right? Because I'm not really teaching people anything more than they already know. They'll learn new things and we can optimize things as we go and we can take those extra few percent. But here's a principle. 80% of your results come from 20% of the work. Do you think that finding a slightly more optimal movement is revolutionize your arm training? It's not. What is going to revolutionize your arm training? Being able to perform the basics a lot better with more accuracy over time. Again, this is why I have a job. It's relentless accountability, kick your ass motivation at times. It's doing the basics well. You need to stop worrying about what's this simple tweak over here or what's this like simple fix over here. Unless you're advanced, have actually built a good physique naturally, have spent enough time in the game, it doesn't fucking matter. So this information overload, what does it do? It creates confusion with everybody. You're paralysis by analysis. You're comparing the perfect plan. You followed a plan for like 3 or 4 weeks. You're wondering why you're not jacked yet, so you change your plan. That's the worst thing you can do. Confuse the muscle. That doesn't work. That's not how it works. A lot of the time I've been doing the same movements that I always have with very little change. In fact, now I've taken out some of the so-called more optimal movements because, well, yeah, it ultimately just doesn't fucking matter. You can grow a chest with bench press. You can grow arms with standing dumbbell curl. You can grow legs with a squat. This science-based approach, right, as much as it does have some efficacy in some sense, it's ruining things. Furthermore to the point, people are pulling these studies, right, about no more than 8 reps for fatigue management. They're trying to find all these studies and do all this science-based approach, right? It's all theory. You can learn about training as much as you want until you put the work and you're not going to see the results. Also, what was it that Oppenheimer taught us, right? Or I don't know if it was Oppenheimer, or actually this might have just been a line for the movie, right?
Theory will take you only so far.
People are arguing with world-class bodybuilders on what is correct because they've read the conclusion, the bottom of a study. The people on social media, the people on TikTok, don't even fucking know how to read a study. You're just scrolling to the bottom, reading a conclusion. Oh, more than 8 reps it has shown to be more fatiguing, which over time means you build less muscle. Whatever the fucking conclusion is. Right, there's lies, damn lies and statistics. You can cherry pick things all you want to say what you want to say. Science-based lifters, I'm going to say something now. Right, we're going to drop this bombshell, move on to the next thing. Science-based lifting came about from people that haven't yet built a good physique, haven't yet got other people into shape. Right, they want this other angle, they want this new thing to come at you with so they can sell you a program so that you'll listen to them instead of actually the big guy who's been doing it for a long time, right? I understand I'm also not the biggest of guys, right? But I am natural with what I would say is bang average genetics. See me in 2 years from now, you'll see a natural physique that you barely, that it's just rare, okay? I understand that's a bit arrogant to say, but just see, just wait and see. Because that's my whole angle on this thing. Because this new wave of fitness is incredibly damaging, especially to young men's beauty standards, all this stuff. And we've lost sight of what training should be about. It should be about making life better, making you healthier. It doesn't need to be this all-encompassing thing which ruins your health, ruins your social life. If you want to bodybuild, if you want to make a career out of it, if you want to be a fitness professional, you can do that. Not even I allow it to all encompass that much. I still get my socials in anyway. So that's number one, information overload. It muddies the waters. It's complicating a process which is not complicated at all. People are learning to do fitness in all the wrong places. Problem number two, the society problem. As a society, the way our environment is set up, it is not really the most conducive to building a good physique. Fast convenience food, right? Fucking microplastics. There's literally plastic in your balls. If you didn't know that, yeah, look it up. You have microplastics in your balls right now. I do. Our taints are shrinking, right? The distance from the bottom of your balls to the place excrete, right? That's getting shorter. Testosterone is declining. Why is that? Well, there's lifestyle factors, there's nutritional factors. The way that society is set up now is not conducive to producing fit bodies, right? As technology has advanced, coming back to the previous point, talking about the advancements in the technology, life has got more convenient, it's got more comfortable. You don't need to move, you've got a car. You don't need to cook your own food from scratch because you can just get a takeaway. You can literally open up Just Eat on your phone, right? Yeah. And this is something that pisses me off. We're getting in deep now. I saw the other day somebody complaining about the fact that it was something about drivers, right? They'd ordered something from Just Eat and they were complaining about the fact that this guy had turned up on a bike. Because they're saying if you turn it up, right, first of all, right, your food is insulated, right, within that bag, right? If it's insulated properly, if it was handled properly at the restaurant, even if it's a 30-minute bike journey to where you are, which is unlikely because they probably wouldn't pick up that trip, that food is staying warm, right? But this person was complaining, it's like, why you want food that I've paid for on a bike to my house, it's going to be cold. I'm just thinking, you have paid for convenience there, right? You can't be asked to get out of your seat, right? This poor guy on a bike is just trying to make a living. Maybe you can't afford a car, right, in this economic state of the world. And you're complaining because your food might be a little bit colder than it would be as if you drove there, right? You complain about the money that you've spent. Shit's expensive now. If you want to have the convenience of somebody, and honestly, I'm not anti-food delivery, right? I still do it myself, right? I'll order food sometimes if I'm having like a off plan or if I'm having a social, whatever it might be. But you're complaining about the slight less convenience of your convenience. There was another person which was complaining about the way that they've been treated in the medical system. They said that the nurses didn't care or whatever. They were dealing with this issue. They'd just been on a week-long holiday to it was like on a B first. They'd been raving, right? They drank loads. Potentially there'd been drugs involved, and said person was struggling with their health. And they were complaining after then coming home that the medical service that they were receiving. Bearing in mind, I'm sure most nurses and doctors are trying their best in what is an underfunded system, right? Because the NHS just is. It doesn't get enough funding. And they're complaining about like the fact that they weren't solving their problem quickly enough, a problem by which, and I'm not going to use any rude terms, but this person has abused their body for a long time. They were overweight, they've just been on a rave holiday, which has exacerbated some problem they've already got. You caused this problem. Anyway, convenience of food, everybody's plugged into their phones, right, which we're addicted to social media. Instead of getting out into nature, which is proven to be good for your mental health, people are spending more time indoors, they're just watching Netflix, they're doing this, they're doing convenience, it's dopamine seeking. You want this comfort now, and in this chase for comfort, you're actually shrinking your comfort bubble. As much as I will rant about people that don't prioritize their health, right, I do actually come from a place of understanding. I understand that unless you've had the education, unless you were fortunate enough to be exposed to some of these ideas or begin seeing things, and I understand that for some people it's genetically more difficult in the first place. I understand why as a society most of us are unfit and unhealthy, because we just don't prioritize those things. What do we prioritize? Materialism, right? Prioritize more expensive things, we chase money, and sometimes we chase that money in sacrifice of our own health, which should be the most valuable resource you've got. You're actually sacrificing time, the longevity of your life on average, because, you know, I could get by a bus tomorrow and that'd be, I was going to use the word funny, it's not funny, At least I don't think it's very funny. Some of you might. I get hit by a bus tomorrow and someone's going to go, well, he trained so hard and is worried about his health just to get hit by a bus. Yeah, well, that's an outlier, right? How many people get hit by a bus? Probably not many. But as long as nothing tragic happens, as long as you don't get some kind of genetic disease or something happens, you're adding years to your life by investing into this. But as a society, we just don't prioritise these things. Why? Money. Okay, now we're going to get a little bit conspiratorial, right? Big pharma, yeah? They make a lot of money by a sick society, right, that treats the symptoms, not the problem itself. Food companies, right, the sugar industry has been shown to like fucking fake studies. But the food industry and the health industry, probably they're in love with each other, right? They love each other because the food is making you sick, the lifestyle's making you sick, which is making them more money. You get addicted to these foods, you get addicted to the lifestyle, so then you just carry on down this path that's making you unhealthier. You are literally lining the pockets of some rich CEO who's fully aware of the fact that the lifestyle that you are leading, because of their products, because of their services, is making you unhealthy. Society is set up to make sick people. So if you want to change that, you've got to go against the grain. You've got to use some discipline and not engage with that, as difficult as that might be for you to do. Brings us on to problem number 3, the education problem. In school, what did you learn? Right. You learn a lot about maths, you learn how to read and write, which is obviously very useful and quite important. You probably learned how to study, you learned some things about science, pretty sick, you learned some history. I do think all of these things are very valuable, but did you learn how to stay fit and healthy? No. The budget for like fitness, right? And mind, I was actually at a point, right, when I was a nerd and I was a very academic student, right? Again, failed maths degree over here. I looked at the people that were interested in PE and thought, well, that's just a complete waste of time. That's not gonna make me any money. That's not gonna do anything of worth, is it? Even down to cooking class, right? Cooking class was a complete DOS for me. I'm gonna clear and apologise, right, to whoever my food tech teacher was, because my God, I put you through hell. I used to mess with other people's cooking. I remember I had a friend, Big Ben, back in secondary school, and there was a time we were making, I think it was like muffins or something. We were making muffins, and I took a whole jar of these chili flakes, put them into his muffins, and it literally, these muffins come out the oven. He's put his heart and soul into these muffins, right? And these muffins come out. He's proud to try me. He fucking takes a bite, and he's like, that's spicy as fuck. Why? Because I put the chili flakes in there because it was funny, and it's still funny, but I did that. So food tech, physical fitness, that's a complete waste of time. I'm going to do maths. Now what do I think? Well, I think both are very important. And why? Your ability to perform anywhere in life, right? If you want to chase this business idea, if you want to chase this job, if you're going to try and advance in career, who's going to do better? Who's going to perform better? The one that makes better choices in terms of their food, their training, their sleep routines, or the person that abuses their body, right? Even the person that sacrifices all of that in the short term, over time you're going to get more unhealthy, you're going to have less energy, you're going to have less testosterone, which means you don't want to do hard things. You're going to make it very harder. Yeah, I should have been a fitness coach. You're going to make it a lot harder for you to excel in these areas because you're abusing your body. You can't escape this. It doesn't matter how much money you have, you can't pay this problem away. Yes, you can go private medical care, right? But we're not taught necessarily from the offset how important taking care of your physical body is, right? They might say that they do, but there's not a lot of emphasis put on it. You're chasing careers, you're chasing cars, you're chasing businesses, and you're taught that's the thing to chase. Why? It's all probably money motivated. Without getting too political, that's what makes the world run. Because ultimately, a society that can stand on its own 2 feet, is healthy, doesn't need a medical system, right? Can't be profited from. That isn't very useful. And not to get all Andrew Tate, but what's more dangerous than a populace, right, that is healthy, can think for themselves, and doesn't need to be propped up by the system, right? They want very tin hat, take the tin hat off, whatever, but it's very easy to control someone who's sick and dependent, right? I'm not necessarily saying that it is the conspiracy, but that is just whether it is intentional or not. That's the way the system is set up. You're not educated to make these changes. So those are 3 potential solutions to why, even though we have a wealth of knowledge, right, we understand the importance, and this is the thing, like, we've obviously got this body positivity movement now. A lot of people within that space have said for the longest time that they are happy that way, they want to stay that way, and if you truly feel that way, right, personal ownership, if you want to be that way, that's when you're happiest. I'm not saying you can't necessarily do that, that's your prerogative. But many of the people in that space, when Ozempic have come out, again, a supposed easy solution to getting rid of body weight without doing the work, change their tact and have gone on to use this and lose a load of weight. If anyone is watching this who isn't in the best shape of now, if I said to you with a click of your fingers you can change that, how many of you would take it? I would imagine that most people, if they were truly honest with themselves, they would do that. But you don't. Why? Because the lines are blurred, information overload, your environment, your society is set up to keep you sick, and you're not taught and educated on how to do it. That's why even in a day and age where we have all of the training information at our fingertips, we have all of the potential food, the right food at our fingertips, we can even get healthy food conveniently. Gyms are all around the place, right? You can even get fucking gym equipment delivered to your door. That's why today we tend to be sicker than even the people not that long ago. I saw this one thing where I was looking at old footage of like people walking on a beach, and this is from like, if I think it's like 60s or the 70s, and you look and everyone is at least in good shape, right? They're healthy, they've got a glow about them, there's a glow in their eyes. Whereas if you look now, everyone's sedated, they don't look healthy. So how do we go about changing this, right? How do we go about bringing health back to the masses? Right, how am I, in the comfort of my bedroom, right, humble fitness coach and waiter extraordinaire, failed maths degree, how am I going to solve this problem? We're not going to solve this problem. Not for everyone, but how are you going to solve that problem for you? You're going to have to go against the grain. You're going to have to develop a sense of discipline. You're going to have to develop a different value hierarchy of things. You're going to have to value and prioritize your health and fitness, which I know isn't a sexy answer, right? It's not me saying go and take a Ozempic, jump on steroids. Steroids are fun. So yeah, my advice isn't going to be sexy. You're going to have to go against the grain. You're going to have to learn to say no. Get yourself in shape first. Worry about numero uno, right? Then maybe hopefully your family who you've worried about, you've seen like their health decline, maybe that you get in shape, and maybe hopefully that inspires them, right? Or you can at least be a good leading example. Then think about your friends and then try and basically like push out this sphere of influence. That's what I'm doing. That's my whole purpose. Not to get incredibly deep, but that's the whole reason why I started coaching, is because knowing where I was, this anxious, unhealthy, living for the weekend. I can say about myself, I'm not saying it's about anybody else, but degenerate, uni dropout, I started living a healthier lifestyle, and that's the message that I want to ultimately push to everyone, right? And it's not just about physical health, it's about mental health. I used to struggle with mental health a lot. Anxiety, depression. It's something that I don't think I'm anywhere near open enough about, and granted, training wasn't the one thing, it wasn't the only fix to all of this, but it was the catalyst to leading a healthier lifestyle. To now, like, I love my life. I've got plenty of problems like everybody, more of which I'll talk about in the coming months, and life will bring more problems, but I know that because I do something as simple as looking after the physical vessel that I'm in, and by extension looking after the mind, I'm better equipped to deal with life's problems, right? Whatever it's going to be. If that is World War III conscription, bring it on. But actually, no, I'm trans and I'm disabled. But yeah, knowledge around this sort of is something to kind of posture against, right? You want the way things are set up, it's going to be hard for you to be healthy. Make these informed decisions through information we learn and we can apply better, right? So with that being said, I wish you all the luck, depending on whatever situation you're in. If you are at the other end of the scale, you're incredibly unhealthy, I wish you luck into back to health, getting back the vigor that you probably had as a kid. Or even if you're in a position like myself where you already are healthy and you're trying to basically, to bring a Stoic quote, right, where's Marcus Aurelius? Is he here somewhere? Well, it wasn't Marcus Aurelius that said that. Was it Socrates that said that? I don't know. But to bring in a Stoic quote, right, it's not from this book. It's a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the strength and beauty of which his body is capable. And that's just so true. And don't think of it as a cost. Think of it as an investment. Because in going along that journey, you're going to perform better at work, you're going to be a better friend, you're going to be a better family member, you're going to be a better partner. It's worth doing, right? Go and do it. Go, now. What's that guy, Papa Swolio? Go to the fucking gym. Eat some fucking healthy food, get some fruit and veg in your son. Go away, get after it. Back to me a year, 2 years from now that you regret it, because I guarantee that you will not. I didn't, I threw away a cushy career to go and talk to you lot now. It's going okay, it's building slowly, but it's taken a long time. I've sacrificed all of that to spread this message, so if anything, pals, do it for me. Peace.